Brought to you by WikiVidi.com. Batman, 1989 film. Batman is a 1989 American superhero film, directed by Tim Burton and produced by Jon Peters. It is the first installment of Warner Bros.' initial Batman film series. The film stars Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne, Batman, alongside Jack Nicholson, Kim Basinger, with his arch-nemesis the Joker. After Burton was hired as director in 1986, Steve Englehart, Batman was not greenlit until after the success of Burton's Beetlejuice. Keaton's casting caused a controversy since, by 1988, he had become typecast as a comedic actor, and many observers doubted he could portray a serious role. Nicholson accepted the role of the Joker under strict conditions that dictated a high salary, and themes of the film were influenced in part by Alan Moore and Brian Bolland's The Killing Joke, and Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns. The film primarily adapts the Red Hood origin story for the Joker, in which Batman creates the Joker by dropping him into Axis chemical acid. At the time of its release, the film received several Saturn Award nominations. It also inspired the equally successful Batman, the animated series, paving the way and development techniques of the superhero film genre, and Police Commissioner James Gordon to make the city safer. Meanwhile, reporter Alexander Knox and photojournalist Vicky Vale begin to investigate rumors of a vigilante nicknamed Batman at the hands of a psychotic mugger. At a fundraiser for the bicentennial in Wayne Manor, Bruce meets and falls for Vale, and the two begin a romantic relationship. However, to police business and leaves to investigate as Batman. Mob boss Carl Grissom, with his second-in-command Jack Napier, with the help of corrupt police lieutenant Max Eckhart, with the arrival of Commissioner Gordon, who wants Napier captured alive. But Batman suddenly appears and, in a struggle, Napier is knocked into a vat of chemicals. Batman escapes and Napier is presumed dead. As Batman returns to his life as Bruce Wayne, by the incident and calls himself the Joker, killing Grissom and taking with Smilex, a deadly chemical which causes victims to die laughing. The Joker also becomes obsessed with Vale. He lures her to the Gotham Museum of Art, by the Joker's men, whom Batman manages to defeat. Batman takes Vicky to the Batcave, to protect themselves from the toxin. Furious, the Joker vows to kill Batman. Bruce visits Vicky, but the Joker interrupts their meeting, asking Bruce, "Have you ever danced with the devil?" as he used a bended serving tray as a body armor, and realizes that Napier was his parents' killer. Vicky suddenly appears in the Batcave, after telling her that he cannot focus on the relationship with the Joker terrorizing Gotham. The Joker lures the citizens of Gotham to a parade with the promise of free money from his giant parade balloons. Batman arrives and saves them using the Batwing. Furious, the Joker kidnaps Vicky and takes her to the top of a cathedral. Batman, who survived the crash, fends off the Joker's remaining men despite his injuries, and confronts the Joker. The two struggle, and Vicky clinging onto an outcropping. The Joker tries to escape by helicopter, to lose his grip and fall to his death after it breaks off, promising that he will defend Gotham whenever crime strikes again. Vicky is taken to Wayne Manor, by claiming that she is not a bit surprised, as Batman looks at the signal's projection, standing watch over the city. CBS was interested in producing a Batman in outer space film. Produces Benjamin Melnicker. It was U.S. Land's wish to make the definitive, dark, serious version of Batman, the way Bob Kane stalking criminals in the shadows. Richard Maybaum was approached to write a script, with pitching Batman to various movie studios, because they wanted the film to be similar, to turn down the film. A disappointed Hughes Land then wrote a script titled Return of the Batman. By 6 years. In November 1979, producers Jon Peters and Peter Guber joined the project. Melnicker, to pattern the film's development after that of Superman. Hughes Land, Melnicker and Guber pitched Batman. The project was publicly announced with a budget of $15 million in July 1980. Tom Mankiewicz completed a script titled The Batman in June 1983, focusing on Batman. from the limited series Batman: Strange Apparitions, written by Steve Englehart. Comic book artist Marshall Rogers, who worked with Englehart on Strange Apparitions, was hired for a mid-1985 release date on a budget of $20 million. Originally, David Niven as Alfred Pennyworth, and Peter O'Toole as the Penguin, whom Mankiewicz wanted. So this would never come to pass. A number of filmmakers were attached to Mankiewicz's script. Most of them were based on Strange Apparitions. However, after the financial success of Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Warner Brothers hired Tim Burton. Feeling the previous script by Mankiewicz was campy. The success of The Dark Knight Returns. Burton was initially not a comic book fan, but he was impressed by the Duck. Enlisted the aid of Englehart to write a new treatment in March 1986. Like Mankiewicz's script, but Englehart felt there were too many characters. He removed the Penguin, a comic book fan, to write the screenplay. Hamm decided not to use an origin story, would become part of the storyline. He reasoned, by which Bruce Wayne becomes Batman. Hamm replaced Silver Street Cloud with Vicky Vale, which demoted Dick Grayson to a cameo rather than a supporting character. Parents. When Hamm's script was rewritten, the scene was deleted, reducing it to move forward on development, despite their enthusiasm for Hamm's script. At various comic book stores in the United States, Batman was finally given the green light. When comic book fans found out about Burton directing the film, with Michael Keaton starring in the lead role, controversy arose over the tone. And they think of Pee-wee's Big Adventure. They hear Keaton's name, and it was the complete opposite of our film. We tried to market it with a typical duck. To combat negative reports on the film's production, Kane was hired as creative consultant. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe below.